Let's see. Okay, so yes, just to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded now. And so welcome to Kunal, first of all, and thank you very much for being with us and giving us this talk. It's really a privilege to have you here because you have a lot of experience working in the financial industry, as you've seen in the announcement that we made in Ola. So everyone saw that Kunal has over 13 years of experience working in the financial industry here in London, working for asset management companies, so in the buy side, but also working in, he also has some experience working in the sell side also. For more, I will leave it to Kunal. But before that, I and Kunal used to work together for Principal Global Investors. That's back in 2012 in one of the companies. So that's where we got to know each other. And yeah, he's also a good friend of mine now. So over to you, Kunal. Thank you very much again for doing this. Thank you.
When I tell people that I work in asset management, they always assume that I must be a trader earning insane amount of money. I must be very smart. I must be some sort of a mathematical wizard. Let me make that very clear. None of that is true. I remember very clearly when I was in 12th grade, my math tutor told me, Kunal, I think it's best if you skip the lesson on probability. Not because I knew it very well. It was purely because I just could not understand for the life of me what was going on in that chapter. So, cut to chase, I'm not a mathematical wizard, not even close. But that did not stop me from having a successful career in the financial industry. And today I will share with you how I got there and what it took. And on your screen, you can see the agenda for today. These are some of the areas we will cover. We will talk about the difference between buy side and sell side. We will talk about different areas a typical investment management firm offer you to work in. What are the key skill sets as students you can add on to your CV that will really give you edge over the other candidates? Rough guide to compensation in this industry. We can talk about that, and also how to explore these opportunities. So these are the things that we will cover. But before that, a quick introduction about myself, so you know who I am and you know me better. I was born and brought up in Mumbai and graduated in business studies from University of Mumbai. Anybody from Mumbai here?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hi.
We have some people. Yeah.
Very nice. Let me tell you guys, for the benefit of everybody in the room, Mumbai is the only city in the world where there is no winter. There's only summer and monsoon and 2 weeks of not feeling insanely hot. My friends from Mumbai, do you agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So that's the type of place we've come from. The motivation for me to move to London was not to make a great career, was to escape the Mumbai heat. And my career was just a byproduct of that. So as you can see in that path on your screen, I did my bachelor's in commerce from Mumbai University. That's an equivalent of bachelor's in business studies up in UK. After that, I was lucky enough to get into JP Morgan. JP Morgan have a very big office set up in Mumbai. They've outsourced a lot of their back office custodian operations there. After spending a year with JP Morgan, I decided I want to do an MBA and started looking for different places where I can do an MBA from. And I know you would ask, why Scotland and why Sterling? Back in 2008 and 9, Scotland was all the rage for one simple reason. They had come up with a fresh talent scheme, which meant any international student studying in Scotland will receive a 2-year work permit in the UK. So that was enough to convince me. There were a lot of good universities in Scotland, so I looked at the rankings table, compared the fee structure, and decided Sterling was the winner. It was a great course. I met people from all around the world, probably like you guys are in your course. I had some really inspiring tutors. It was overall a very good experience. After my MBA, what followed was one of the toughest phase of my life. I graduated in September 2008, and this was, if you guys remember it, this was also the time when the Great Recession started to unfold. Lehman Brothers had just collapsed. Hundreds were getting fired in the London city. And here I was looking for a great career with no UK experience and a very thick Indian accent. So to say the least, it was challenging. To sustain myself, I did all sorts of odd jobs. I worked at call centers, sold BT broadband to strangers on the street. I worked at McDonald's flipping burgers, and I did this for nearly 1 year. And one thing I did not stop doing all that while was applying for jobs. I did that consistently 3 to 4 hours every week, and after 6 months, I had done zero interviews. I realized I must be doing something wrong. I tweaked my resume, changed my cover letter, read tons of articles online on how to deal with recruiters, and also approached the firms directly. But one thing I did not do is did not give up. It was simply not an option for me. 6 months has now turned into a year. I gradually start getting some interview calls, and eventually I landed up 3 job offers within a span of 2 weeks. And out of those three, I chose Principal Global Investors, who are a boutique investment manager based in London, where I met Alban. He was my senior colleague. I was probably one of your first students, Alban. He trained me very patiently and answered all my stupid questions. And I'll probably share some of those learnings with you today. So after Principal Global Investors, I've worked with 3 different companies, making some progress along the way. Uh, the key theme of the career has been to keep learning. I did a few courses that kept my resume attractive to the recruiters. Looking forward into the future, the goal is to sustain and grow my career, continue to upskill, most importantly, focus on doing things that I enjoy. So I hope that gives you a little bit of snapshot into my life so far, and hopefully you can relate to what I speak much better. Right. So if you've done some reading about investment management and investment banking, you will have heard about these words buy and sell side. Don't worry if you haven't. I had no clue about it until I actually took up a buy side job myself. So buy side firms are those that, in order to make money, they will purchase securities. So these are your typical investment managers and pension funds. Sell side firms are those that, in order to make money, they will sell services to the buy side, mainly custodian banking, brokerage services, mergers and acquisitions. Most of the sell side firms will also have a buy side arm as an investment manager. So on the left hand side, you can see I've listed some sell side guys. Big guys are Goldman Sachs, Barclays, and JP Morgan. These guys will have a small investment management arm, which would fall under buy side. So that's why it can become a bit confusing sometimes when you're talking about buy side and sell side, and there are these big names in the market who can do both. Uh, if you get a job with JP Morgan, a common question people ask is, are you on the wealth side or the sell side? The buy side is also known as the wealth side sometimes. So the key differences between the two sides, at any number of point, there are always more jobs available in the market on the sell side, because these are big investment banking firms. They have in Canary Wharf, most of the offices are sell side offices, and you'll always have more jobs available on the sell side. Compensation is another thing to talk about between the two sides. It's difficult to compare, but I think most industry veterans would agree that at a junior level, Sell side compensation are better, but once you gain experience and expertise, buy side can offer a lot more. The other key theme of discussion between the two sides is the work life balance. All that news that you read about people working non-stop and pulling 70 to 80 hours a week, that's mainly on the sell side. One of the greatest perks of working for a buy side firm, it will offer you a very good work-life balance. What I've also done, guys, is on the last slide, I've put some resources, and I've put in links where you can read more about buy versus sell side, and a few more areas that we're going to talk about. You can uh, supplement that with some reading. All right, so investment management area. So these are typically, you must have heard about back office, middle office, and front office. So these are broadly the areas that a typical investment management firm will have. The term back and middle office are used interchangeably, and I'll tell you why. First, let's talk about front office. This is where all the big decisions are made. Without exceptionally talented people in this area, no investment management firm can survive. The front office attracts the top talent in the industry, and obviously you are rewarded handsomely too. Uh, but don't lose hope if you cannot get into front office straight away. A lot of people start their career in back and middle office and make that progression into front office. And even more people realize that back and middle office is also a very good area to have a successful career in, like I have. Now, the reason why it's called back and middle office is based on its interaction with the front office. In theory, middle office are meant to have high interaction with the front office, and back office will relatively have less interaction. For buy side firm, the difference between middle office and back office is negligible. And there are a lot of overlaps, but on the sell side, the division between the two sides can be a bit more obvious. The key takeaway here is no matter what your qualification and your skill set is, you can find a role in financial services that works for you in one of these areas. Okay, I'm moving on to the next slide. Skill set. So like I said earlier, as a student, I understand one of the key questions is to how should your resume stand out from the crowd? And what I've learned from being in this industry for a few years now, there are some really good skill sets that you can acquire now or in the next few years that'll make you stand out. And I'll share this list with you. And recruiters absolutely love to see these on your CV. First up ahead is right on top is IMC. That stands for Investment Management Certificate. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's a course offered by the CFA Society. And if you hold an IMC, you can get an exemption on some CFA units as well. It's a very useful qualification to have in the middle office and back office sector. It consists of 2 exams and requires in total about 250 hours of studying time. A decent commitment if you are working and studying. I would only recommend an IMC if you pretty much know that you don't want to do a CFA. CFA will highly increase your chance to step into the front office area. It's one of the most comprehensive exams you may ever take, and it's also very competitive. It is actually quite daunting too, and I personally know fund managers who manage millions of dollars, and they've given up CFA midway. So it's not easy by any means. Even the most qualified people kind of give up. So if you're cut out for it, give it a shot, and I don't think once you complete your CFA, there's no looking back in terms of career progression. If you're aiming for the stars, I think that's what you should be targeting, CFA in the financial industry. Next up, let's talk about Python and SQL. These are your typical coding languages, which are always in high demand, even more than ever at this point when automation has been the key driving force in the industry. Firms want to reduce risk and manual tasks. So if you understand financial products and services and you're really good at coding, that is a very lethal combination and will put you right in the top bracket when you're looking for a job. Not everyone is cut out for coding. A good coder has a very different mindset, and I'm sure some of you here may have tried coding. And if you combine that knowledge with financial products and financial services, it's a very bright prospect in this industry. Next up is Excel and VBA. Excel needs no introduction. It is the bread and butter in this industry. You need to be very comfortable with it. And if you can do some VBA, then that's icing on the cake. VBA is essentially automating tasks within the framework of Excel. Once you become good in Excel and have a technical mind, then I would say VBA would be the next best thing to learn. And I think what's left on that screen is grit. I mean, those are some really important skills to have, but I can assure you, if you have all of them, you will not get far without grit. If you've read Grit by Angela Duckworth, then you know what I mean. If you haven't, then please go and buy a copy tonight. I'm not kidding. It's gonna help you a great deal. Grit is essentially passion and perseverance for long-term goals. It's about having mental stamina to stick to your vision day in, day out, not just for the week, for the month, but for years, and working really, really hard to make that future reality. And obviously, you cannot list grit on your CV. Please do not do that. But I promise it will show indirectly on your CV years down the line. So there you go, guys. Those are my ingredients for a fine dining experience. Grit and Excel are a bit like salt and pepper. You can't do without them. And you can pick and choose from rest on how you want to play it. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. A quick look at the compensation. This is a very ballpark indication of what you can expect in investment operation. It really depends on a lot of different factors. If you're on the buy side, sell side, if you're with a large firm like Schroders, or if you're with a premium asset managers like Somerset, which I was working in before Schroders, a lot of things will define your compensation, but that gives you like a ballpark figure on the slides in front of you. And I've also put a link in the last page to a salary survey by Robert Walters. Have a read at that. That also gives you a very good indication of what to expect. So opportunities. Do not underestimate the power of LinkedIn. It's an absolute must to have an updated LinkedIn profile. A lot of recruitment is happening over there these days. And I would say the second best place is eFinancial Careers. I have relied quite heavily on that website to find jobs whenever I want to change jobs or find new opportunities. And having a LinkedIn profile really helps you to put a face to your profile, and you will see that recruiters will always, after looking at your CV, they'll always jump into your LinkedIn profile to get some more information about you. I'm currently at Schroders, and Schroders are also hiring for graduate program. They have a big office setup near Horsham. This is a small town near Gatwick. If you're interested, please click on that link and you can apply for some graduate roles. We are currently recruiting for them. I think the program will start in September. Okay, so yeah, so that was a quick presentation from me, and that's the last page where you can do some reading. Although I'm sure you can share that slide
Yeah.
with your students so they have access to it. I'm happy to take any questions, guys. Just generally about myself or about the industry, and any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Kunal. So basically, these slides will have some links here. So I'll make these slides available for you guys to access these slides. Now, do you have any questions for Kunal? So we have him here for another 30 minutes, I think. So any question from online, guys, from you online or from you here?
So, hi, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you well.
Okay, perfect. So I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you are working in an like kind of middle office positions. So what is the job like, and what is the kind of like typical, week, like what kind of typical work during the week, not like day to day, but like during the week, what kind of set of work that you have here?
Sure. So I can give you a quick snapshot about my day. So a typical day yeah, at office for me is start early at 8 or 8:30. Um, we do a lot of trading across the globe. So when you start at 8 or 8:30, you'll see all the trades taking place in Asian region, in Singapore, in China, even in India. So those are the trades that we focus on early in the morning, and we'll do some confirmations. You every time you execute a trade, you need to you need to confirm them with the brokers. So I would go and confirm them. So the trading desk will execute a trade and send it to me and say, Kunal, can you please confirm these trades with the brokers that we've executed? I'll make sure I confirm them. After I confirm them, I will then release the trades out to the custodians. Custodian banks are, in essence, so it's just like your retail bank, right? You have your retail bank where you hold the money. For investment managers, that's what custodian banks do. Custodian banks will hold the shares for the investment managers. So we release our instructions to the custodian banks and we tell them that we've traded and can you go, so custodian bank will help and settle that trade in the market with the broker. So that's brief process flow for you, and we will in middle office and back office we will manage the confirmation of a trade, we'll do settlements, we will do reconciliations. If there are any new clients that the firm has acquired, we will onboard those clients. um, we will read the client mandate very thoroughly. If the client mandate says they don't want any exposure to firms in Russia, we'll make sure our compliance systems are in place to capture that and we don't accidentally buy stocks in Russia. And there's a very high focus in the regulatory area in investment management firms. A lot of buy-side firms are spending a lot of money on regulation. So you may have heard about EMIR reporting if you've done any reading about regulations. So, most of the firms in the UK have to report all the trades on a daily basis that they've executed in the European areas, and there's a very predefined mechanism to do it, and that mechanism has given birth to this regulation industry where a lot of jobs have been created within the reg reporting area. Um, so reg reporting is also a very attractive area in the middle office arena. Um, so these are the kind of things I would do on a typical day, and we have offices in Singapore and in New York. So in the morning, I would be talking to Singapore quite a lot. In the afternoon, I would be handing over stuff to the New York team. Um, and yeah, just helping other colleagues out for with anything that they are struggling with. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. One more question? Yeah.
Hi, thank you for talking to us. My question is, how did you get a job without UK work experience? You mentioned that you were doing a lot of other things on the side in the 1 year post-graduation. So did your work experience with JP Morgan count when you were trying to get a new job? And what exactly did these employers, the recruiters see? What had changed in your certifications for you to get 3 jobs in 2 weeks after waiting for a year without a job and applying everywhere?
That's a good question.
I like that question because I know the phase of your career you're in, and you're probably going to go through that experience very soon. JP Morgan on my CV definitely helped. It helped me up to the point of recruiters noticing my CV. But once I get the interview, your experience kind of does not count. When you start your one-on-one dialogue at the interview, all your experience are, in my opinion, quite irrelevant. And in that moment, what's important is your personality, how engaging you are, how clearly you speak, how well-rounded personality you have. If you have any tricky questions, how do you perform under pressure? So these are the key aspects that you need to crack an interview. And your experience is more or less irrelevant in the interview itself. Uh, but having said that, to get to the interview stage, you do need something on your CV, and that's where some of the skill sets that I shared earlier with you guys will help. If you can get any internship programs before graduation, that will help. If you have any other experience, basically, that you can put in your CV, even if you worked at McDonald's, you should put that on your CV because recruiters like to see that you've worked, you've thrown yourself out in the world, and you've struggled, and you've done a 9 to 5 job, even if it's flipping burgers. They want to see that you have that mindset and you have that grit. So get out there and get any job, absolutely anything that you can find. Everything will help you to get where you want to be.
One question from online. Yeah, Fee? Is that you? Oh, sorry. Okay, yes.
Okay, so my question is, during one of those interviews before, are there anything that you wish you could have done differently and you could have learned so much from it that, you know, it could help you to get those interviews? Are there anything that you most regret of?
Gosh, that's going to be a very long list, you know, because I think in my whole life I must have done at least 150 interviews, I'm sure. I think one of the key learnings from all the interviews I've had is doing my research. There have been occasions where I haven't done enough research about the firm and about the person who is interviewing me, and it does come to bite you if you don't do your research thoroughly. So whenever you go into an interview, never underestimate it. Never underestimate the amount of preparation you need. Use each and every minute up until the point of interview to read about the company, about the job role. Uh, what I like to do is I take the job spec and I break down each and every point on the job spec, and I make my notes on what I know about that sentence, how I can add value to that function, to that one single task, And I do that for each and every point. And at the end of my preparation, that one half page of job spec will turn into like a 3-page for me. So that's my little research and preparation process for the interview. And yeah, that would be my key uh, key advice to you guys, that do your research thoroughly. Do not wing it.
Sorry, can I?
question?
Yes, so there is one question online first.
Yeah.
Is that you?
I finish follow up with her.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have a follow-up from the same one. Yeah, we'll come in. Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, so when you mentioned about doing thorough research, next to it there would be like some kind of like soft skill interviewing questions or like break ice interview questions. Do you have any tips, especially for investment banking industry? So I kind of noticed that the style is quite different comparing to management consulting or like any other industry. So do you have any specific thing that you think we should practice, practice on?
I think breaking the ice largely depends on the interviewer rather than the interviewee. Uh, I don't want you to kind of be funny or crack a joke in the interview to break ice. I'd say that, however, what you can do is tell a story about yourself. In most of the interviews, you will be asked this question: tell me about yourself. Now, you need to have a nice story about yourself ready for this question. Don't just ramble all the bullet points from your CV. I've got this degree, I've got this much experience, I've studied this, I've done that. Have a nice little story for them that I did my graduation from University of Mumbai. This was my experience. After studying, it led me into this area. I had campus recruitment, blah, blah, blah. So it need to flow like a story. And that will really capture the interviewer's attention. And once you start telling that story, you've got their attention. They're listening to you very carefully. And I think that is your breaking the ice moment once you've got their attention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Oh, thank you for speaking to us today. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so my question is about researching the company. So when you mentioned that when you research, you have to research the company, you only focused on the job specification. But when you go to a company, they direct when you go for an interview, they direct this question to you, that why this company. So when you're researching a company based on why this company, what are the things that you would advise that would check, not just what basically you saw online? Like I would, if I want to go more in depth, like what would you advise?
Right. So that's a good question. Interviewers pretty much know that this is not the only job you've applied for. They know that you've been applying for tons of jobs, and if not this job, you'll be more than happy to work for any other company. They know that for fact. It's when they ask you why would you want to work for us, they just basically want to know if you're serious enough to have done the research about the company. They just like to hear what you've read about them. And if you've put in an effort for this job interview, that's what they're judging. You don't have to convince them that, oh, your company is the best and I've been waiting to work for your company forever. That's not what the aim of the question is, but it's purely to judge your determination to crack this job interview. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because we are living in a special time because of COVID and etc. And we have lots of international students. My question to you is, what would you recommend for people that are going to the UK next month or in a few months to do food to get into the life. I don't know how to explain it. To
First,
better
you need
better
an Oyster
ourselves.
Pass to travel in London tubes. Do get your Oyster Pass sorted. Uh, but no, from career perspective, I would say when you're in London, it's a great place to be in. It's the center of the world. It's the financial hub, still the financial hub post Brexit. Um, I think being in London, it gives you the advantage of going out and meeting the recruiters. Just get in touch with as many recruiters as possible. And even if they can't get you an interview, just kind of push them to meet with them. And just kind of tell them that this is what I have to offer. I would love to have a coffee and a catch up with you. Uh, just have that approach with all the recruiters. And if you get any FaceTime with any recruiters, I think that that'll be a good starting point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more questions from online? Any more questions from here?
I have one more
Yeah,
question.
one more question. Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Okay, so you mentioned that the opportunities with your firm, Schroeder.
Mhm.
So we're still in school and we're not graduating until 2022. For some of us doing extended practice, 2023.
Okay.
Are there like internship jobs we can take in advance? We can apply in advance, so we can start as soon as we're done with our second semester. So we can, even if it's a volunteer position without salary, just something you can apply ahead, get interviews, and get the jobs. Is it possible to do that?
I think with the graduate program, you need to have done your A levels, and you can only apply up until 9 to 10 months in advance of starting the role.
Oh,
Um, but do click into that link and have a read through. There might be something that suits your current situation. And I mean, sure, this is not the only place. There are a lot of firms in London who do graduate recruitments.
Now we have one more question online, Kunal. Anantha.
Hi, Kunal. My name is Anand.
Hi, Anant.
Um, so I have a question that I have an 7 years experience in settlements for company Barclays in India. And so now I have came up to do my master's here in UK. So I have my 1 year of, I've not taken the extended profession. It's mine's 1 year course. So my question is, while applying a job, so how do we, meaning applying a job, the what type of position we need to take? We initially go with the like senior role, or we start with an associate position. So for what sort of job and how do we apply? That's what my question was all about.
Um, I think I wouldn't worry about getting a senior or a junior position at this point. Your focus should be just get a role, and if you can if you can get one in settlements, that's absolutely amazing. Because it's extremely important to get your foot in the industry. Uh, I know how you would feel that being a having that 7 years of experience on your CV, if you have to step into a junior role, it's not nice, right? It feels like you're going backwards. But my suggestion would be to get rid of that mindset and take whatever comes your way, even if it's a junior role. It will teach you and learn you so much more. It's also about embracing the UK culture. People here work really differently, and it took me a long time to understand that. The way you talk to your colleagues is completely different from anywhere else in the world. We in the UK, we kind of struggle communicating with our colleagues in Europe. They have a completely different culture. So I think it's important to kind of embrace that culture. Only once you've embraced that culture, you can then climb up the ladder. So just get your foot in the industry anywhere you can. Big firm, small firm, junior role, senior role, doesn't matter. Just get the job.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. Do we have any other questions, guys?
We add you on LinkedIn or further following, if you don't mind.
Some of the students are asking, can they add you in LinkedIn just to follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not very active on LinkedIn, but you can probably just look at my profile. I don't post much. I just purely am there so the recruiters can find me. But yeah, feel free to.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. Yeah. Okay, so if you see a lot of adding in the LinkedIn, just accept those. I guess you know where they're coming from. Right. Any other question? Well, if not, well, I'll take this opportunity to thank you very much, Kunal, for a very, very interesting presentation and very provoking, a lot of questions and also a lot of thought. And I owe you a coffee, man. Let's meet up and have a coffee together one day. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to. I might be in London very soon, so I'll give you a shout.
When you're here, just give me a call. Yeah, that's fine.
Will do. No, it's a pleasure meeting you and your students. It's nice to have that one-on-one with people, and I'll be glad to do it again if you want to.
Absolutely, yes. Let's do that next semester for the next cohort. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.